Last week or whenever I actually uploaded it from now, because I have no idea from when I'm recording of when this video is ever going to come out, but I made my video on Archer from Fate Stay Night. Well, basically Heroic Spirit. Oof, don't want to say that. Spoiler alert, I recommend skipping 5 seconds after I say the name now. Heroic Spirit Emiya. I mean, you should be watching my last video and be watching all of Unlimited Blade Works at least. Minimum that and my watch order that I put on the last video. But let's get straight into it. From where I left off in the last video, I said Archer failed to become the hero he wanted to be, or to be accurate, he became the hero he dreamed to be, the one he strived to become. His ideals did not match up with the real deal. And as I said before, this end result was the exact same as Saber and Kiritsugu, but they all had a thing to keep them going in the end, and this is the journey that we go through with Archer.
ついてこれるか。ナインライブスブレイドアーツ。
To put it simply, the redhead kid, the main protagonist of Heaven's Hill, Stay Night, Blade Works, is Archer. Shiro is Archer, and Archer is, well, Heroic Spirit Emiya. Emiya comes from him. I mean, I can't really be any more clear. I think at least I'm being more clear than the bloody anime. I mean, half the people watched Unlimited Blade Works and didn't understand that Archer is Shiro, just from another timeline. A timeline where he doesn't come into the Holy Grail War and intervene. But really going through the timelines, I don't really want to do. It's just a bit of a pain in the ass to wrap your brain around all that shit. Anyways, the reason Archer even came to the time where Shiro is to intervene is to kill himself, to get rid of the Shiro that made the mistake of becoming the hero he is. Because he comes to that conclusion that his life was a mistake, his entire being was a mistake. The reason he was even alive, the reason he survived the Fourth Holy Grail War was for nothing. For just pain is all a mistake to him. Because the pain he felt was one that would go on forever unless he did something about it. And that was to kill his past self. Or at least kill those ideals to make himself feel better in some way. Proving that he's correct to his past self. Though it did not make too much sense why he was doing it. He was just responding to the pain he felt, the betrayal, because Shiro Emiya of his timeline strived to become the hero that Kiritsugu wanted to be. He tried to follow in his footsteps, the curse that he implied on himself, to take on the impossible mission, the mantle of a hero, a life of selflessness, one that Saber subscribed to but ended in ruin for her, as it did for him. As I said earlier, in my last video, Shiro made a pact with Alaya, the god overseer of humans and its protection. He became a counter-guardian, a weapon for the planet, the god of whatever it was. To kill, and kill. To save lives, just as Kiritsugu did. But instead of having the same resolve as Kiritsugu did from his trauma, Archer's very own trauma made it seem different. The great psychological aspect here of the differences between the father and son from their own traumas is shown right here from, Nos's great writing, because the two have the same dreams. Well, they differ in somewhat, and that's because of their reason to become a hero. The reason for their convictions, their resolve, they differ. They may lead to a similar ending, but they differ for a reason. Archer wished to become a heroic spirit because he wanted to fulfill his dream of becoming a hero. He wanted the greater power, and the reason he wanted to become a hero is to save all those in front of him, and because of his survivor's guilt. That's why he wanted to become that hero. And the same thing for Kiritsugu is cause and effect. He wanted to save those he could by using his actions to prevent further killings, further evil. By killing evil itself, he became evil to end evil, because he didn't do it once and he caused a massacre, and to resolve it, to make sure it never happened again, he learnt what he needed to do. The utilitarian method of killing his own father, the one responsible for all the death around him. And he too was responsible when he had the opportunity to go and kill his very best friend, which is obviously something you don't give to a child to do, but in the end he broke anyway. And somewhat with Saber. Saber was the heir to the throne, to become king and was surrounded by death, poverty, just Britain reaching ruin. The weight of her world rested on her shoulders, and she had to live up to it despite being the girl she is. All these major things lead them to do, well, spur on to impossible thoughts. You don't see people wanting to be heroes here in our world, do you? It's because they experience things that are almost impossible in our world or are very unlikely, and they are very unlikely people that you don't see them every day, as you can see from them and other people how they react to them. And this is why it's so noble. People would like to be there, but they're not. They can't be. And the reason for that is happened in this world is because they're not like the every other person you see or they see. They've been through something and it's pushed them forward. It's given them the resolve, the conviction to do it. And those human beings, these people are so noble, and you really feel for them when the tragedy comes to them. And that's what's so tragic about fate, is that all these great people, heroes, people we would aspire to be, suffer the most despite who they are. And for Archer, after he became the Counter Guardian, killing, just getting tired of murdering the innocents. They're not really innocent, but that's what he got rid of people's dreams. He was ending them. But why? Because his dream was greater? Was he better than them? He had a lot of time to think, but he didn't have any time to really rest because he threw that away. He threw his afterlife away for the sake of others. He became a weapon of evil because to others, he was the evil taking away their lives, their dreams, just as Kiritsugu was. And that is not what Shiro wanted. He wanted to save everyone in front of him. The contradiction of these ideals, the ones that were passed down and borrowed to him, are the ones that weren't his, and now he suffered for them. So Archer returns to his time, to his Grail War, with his chance to end his mistake.
だが、その果てに得たものは後悔だけだった。残ったものは死だけだったからな。
死だけ。
できるだけ多くの人間を救うために殺し尽くした。己の理想を貫くために多くの人間を殺した人間の数千倍の人々を救ったよ。そんなことを何度繰り返したかわからないんだ、セイバー。俺がこの輪から抜け出す術はない。そう、ただ一つの例外を除いて。
The pure Shiro is the one we follow, the one that has not been deluded by the suffering that Archer had gone through. And because this is the Shiro of the purest heroic resolve, the two ideals clash rather powerfully. But in the end, it seems Shiro yields to Archer's ideals, as Archer breaks down him spiritually, physically and all, as he shows him that he is correct, Shiro is wrong, as he had hinted throughout the entire season or seasons in the Unlimited Blade Works. But enough of that bullshit. That's how Shiro reacts. Because how can someone be wrong wanting to save others? How can that be wrong? How can a dream so beautiful be wrong? And Shiro remembers the reason he even picked up this dream. It wasn't just some borrowed thing. It wasn't like he saw bloody Superman on the TV. It was something he picked from his father. Something that he saw was so beautiful he wanted it for himself. When he was saved by Kiritsugu, Kiritsugu was the one who was saved mentally, even though Shiro was the one's life who was being saved. And Shiro picks up on that. He sees the happiness in his eyes. Shouldn't Shiro be happy he was the one who survived? Instead, Shiro receives survivor's guilt and strives for that happiness that Kiritsugu felt from saving another, as he envied that look on his face. Because at that moment, he was the one feeling like shit. And before Kiritsugu died, he confessed that he wanted to be a hero. And Shiro could see that. Shiro already saw him as his hero. And because of that, he wanted to become the hero he wanted to be. But just as Kiritsugu did when he became older, he saw it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as wanting to save everyone. And Shiro faltered at times. But here, remembering what was so great about that dream, the ideal, he pushed forward as Archer came down at him like 100 mountains. Shiro could not yield because this dream was not some basic dream. This was his dream. This was his ideal way to live. Not to just serve others, to save them. To make sure a world was created that no one could cry, even if it hurt him. And that got to Archer because Archer is him. He felt the same way, but he'd just forgotten. Through all that suffering, he'd forgotten his own way. And of course, Shiro eventually resolved it all, strengthening Archer's and, well, resolving his old ideals. Though he knew he was correct, he knew Shiro was right. And if that doesn't make sense, then you're not a real Fate fan, are you? I mean, killing someone means they die. But Archer was not resolved there. He always hurt after that. I mean, the guy was hurting off this fight. He had got himself stabbed in the gut. Then he turned around to be stabbed 1,000 times by Gilgamesh, just to come back as the badass he is at the end of the show, to go put one sword in the Gilgamesh's head, the strongest of them all. But as I've finished Archer's ideals in a way, we're going to talk about not just that Archer, but Shiro as well. Shiro's ideals, because Shiro doesn't end there. There's 3 fruits and different versions of that Archer. The different views and perspectives of the different Shiros that went through different things. Because as I said before, Saber and Kiritsugu and Shiro, they're all the same. Kiritsugu found solace in a successor. Saber found peace in Shiro, and well, Shiro found peace in himself. Well, of course, there are other different versions, as I said. To quickly get to it, we got the most bland, boring Shiro, in my opinion, from what I've seen in Fate Stay Night, is Shiro that, well, he's become more selfless in a way. No, even selfish, because he's found someone to care for and to live for, which was Saber. And I don't know, I don't really want to talk about him, but he wants to become a hero that follows her ideals and his own. Well, yeah, I don't know, he's boring as fuck. So let's go to Heaven's Feel. Heaven's Feel. Shiro becomes a villain. A villain in the way he's one in the same as Kiriko Tomine. The most psychotic person in the show. He may need to get his own video, but the man who wants to become a hero of justice, the one who wants to follow in Kiritsugu's shoes, fails because he lets people die for his own needs. He allows thousands of people in Fuyuki to be killed, tens of thousands that are just slaughtered a night for his own needs and wants of a girl. Because Shiro understands that if you really care about something, you shouldn't give it up for others, because that isn't right in its own way. And Shiro came to care for Sakura to a level where he was sacrificing lives just to keep her alive. It was either save the many for sacrificing the few, or protecting the one you love. And Archer vibed with that. That's the type of guy he wants to live. He doesn't want the self-serving. No, he doesn't want the selfless bloody guy who's going to be killing himself for everyone else. He wants the Shiro that's going to be protecting the one he truly cares for. And that Archer, who'd been suffering so much, decided to become the hero that he hated. In his final moments in the Heaven's Feel route, which is most definitely in my case the best moment of Fate, he puts up his strongest shield to protect Shiro and the others, just like the hero he used to be. And after going against impossible odds, in his dying breaths, he becomes the old Shiro, metaphorically, because of his hair coming down, and he saves his younger self's life. The one he'd come to kill, he saved, because he put his own personal vendettas to the side for others, and he wanted Shiro to live. And thanks to Shiro doing that, Archer gets to stay in the show just a bit longer. And that version of Shiro, with his arm, quite the badass because of it. I mean, Trey Songz just a sick thing in general, being able to copy anyone's noble phantasm, because he was doing the basics his father taught him that seemed so useless to everyone. Projection. Who would have thought something like that as a kid would have made him one of the strongest servants there are to ever exist? To be able to copy the swords in front of you, the ones that are stored in your mind, to be able to create that reality mob was just mad. I mean, he was able to take Alta Berserker that was going toe to toe with Saber, while even smacking her up. He was able to go toe to toe with Gilgamesh, the strongest servant of them all. I mean, Alta Saber, she obviously snapped him up, but still, this guy took him out with basically one shot. Shiro was able to use the wholesome animation of Ufotable as well. 9 lives blade works. And then lastly, I've got my favourite Shiro from Earth Under Snow, the movie, the Khalid movie. Yeah, he basically, well, I think these scenes are enough to say, is a complete badass. Well, Heroic Spirit Emiya decides to help Shiro out. He feels bad for him, and you know, they relate because Shiro becomes a villain, just like Heaven's Feel. He wants to save his sister, but at the cost of humanity, the entirety of humanity, not thousands. He is willing to not have her be used as a tool so that she can have a future, whereas humanity is going to be dying without her. And to be willing to do that, you're not becoming the hero of justice that your father wanted you to be. You're being one for one person, and that's selfish. But this is how great Shiro Emiya can be. He's not just a bloody dunderhead that's running right in, a complete idiot. He's someone with thoughts, feelings, and he changes according to the situation. And the way he does with Archer's card and having Archer's powers is just quite sick. All I really want to say in these videos is that I really appreciate the character of Heroic Spirit Emiya, Shiro, and Kiritsugu Emiya, which will have his own maybe video in the future. If you want more videos of Fate, from me, suggest liking, subbing. I really do appreciate it, and commenting down below. It helps the channel. I want to get much bigger, go to bigger audiences, and improve my little videos. And maybe in the future, I'll do a much better version of this video. And yeah, this video is going way too long. Hopefully I can cut it down. 17 minutes right now. And yes, Signs Out to signing out.